So I know that I said that we were going to focus on main idea again, but changed my mind and I wanted to do something a little different. So we are going to move on to author's purpose. This is the reason why an author writes what they write. What is it? What is author's purpose? Author's purpose is the reason an author writes a text. Good readers can better understand the text structure and purpose when they are able to identify the reason the author wrote the text. So we have already reviewed text structures. This is descriptive text, cause and effect, compare and contrast. What else do we have? Problem and solution and sequencing. So those are the text structures that they're referring to. So if we understand author's purpose and text structures, then we can get a really good understanding of what that text is telling us. Pie with 2 E's. And I'm actually going to add a D to the end. We'll talk about that. So it'll be pied. You can remember the 4 big, scratch that, the 5 big reasons that authors write by thinking of pie. Persuade, that's the P in pie. Inform. Explain. Entertain. And the D that I am adding is describe. Persuade. The author is trying to convince you to think, believe, or do something. Example, commercials, billboards, opinions, ads. We see a lot of ads, especially on the internet, in newspapers. They're trying to get you to buy things. They're trying to persuade you. Sample. You have to try my mom's blueberry pie. It's crispy on the outside, gooey on the inside, and the most delicious pie you'll ever eat. So they're trying to persuade you that and convince you that their mom's blueberry pie is the best. Inform. The author is giving you information about a topic. For example, textbooks, biographies, nonfiction texts. Sample. Apple pie is a favorite American dessert. It can be made with green or red apples and many different types of crust. So I have a confession. I do not like fruit pies. I don't like blueberry pies. I don't like apple pies. I don't like peach cobbler. All of that stuff is super gross to me. But hey, that is my opinion. Explain. The author is explaining steps, a process, or directions. Example, a recipe, how-to instructions. Our example is, the first step to making strawberry pie is picking strawberries. Then you need to preheat the oven while you cut off the stem and leaves. So let's think back on text structures. Which text structure does this sample remind you of? Which text structure is this? If you said sequencing, give yourself a pat on the back. Good job. Entertain. The author is writing a story for the reader to enjoy. Example, fiction books, folktales, and poems. Sample. Sarah was about to take a big bite of the blueberry pie in front of her when she heard someone shout, "Stop!" She looked around and didn't see anyone, then looked down and realized her pie was speaking. So we know that pies can't really talk in real life. This is just something that the author wrote for your enjoyment. And before we move on to this practice, the last author's purpose that I wanted to talk about, to describe. So just like descriptive text, when the author is trying to describe something, they are using your five senses. They are using the five senses to tell you how something in that text looks, feels, smells, tastes, or sounds like. Let's practice. What is the purpose? Cows have 4 stomachs, so the food that they eat must go through a process to be broken down. First, the cow chews the food just enough to swallow it. Then, the food travels through the first 2 stomachs, rumen and reticulum. There, the food is stored until later. So what is the purpose? I'm just now seeing the cow eating its boogers. What is the purpose of the author writing this? If your answer is to explain, then you are correct, because we have the author explaining the process of the cow's food going through its system. What is the purpose? Clover Cow loved Library Day. He couldn't wait for each Tuesday because that was when his class visited the school library, and this week he knew exactly which book he would get, The Adventures of Super Cow, his favorite superhero. So what's the author's reasoning for writing this? If your answer is to entertain, you are correct. What is the purpose? Cows are one of the most important animals. First, cattle provide many people with beef as food to eat. Also, cattle can benefit the environment by reducing the risk of range fires. Cows can make soil healthier as well. What is the author's purpose for writing this? If your answer is to persuade, you are correct. What is the purpose? There are over 800 breeds of cows in the world. Beef breeds are raised for their meat, and dairy cows are raised to produce milk. What is the author's purpose? If your answer is to inform, you are correct. They are giving us facts and information.